Hello and welcome to this edition of the Free Fast 3 podcast for the 5th of December. Are you ready for your quick dose of inspiration? So this time around, our 3 fast tips are about journaling, sleep and breathing. Journaling. Years ago, we might have called this a daily diary or even just writing, but many people now talk about the benefits that they get from journaling. Whether that's a gratitude journal, a note of your daily successes, or just getting stuff out of your head and onto paper, the anecdotal evidence is that journaling can really help our mental health and our well-being. I do it myself. Last thing I do just before I go to sleep, a daily journal with a pen and on a bit of paper. So my podcast recommendation is from one of my favourite podcasts, 10% Happier with Dan Harris. And in this episode, Dan and Bianca talk to Dr. James Pennebaker about expressive writing, which is a form of journaling where you commit your worries, your fears, or your anxieties to paper. And in this episode, we discover how this can help your mind sort them out. They also talk about the similar benefits of journaling in relation to to-do lists, gratitude lists, improved sleep, and even improved working memory. It was a really insightful conversation, so if you journal or if you are thinking about it, it's well worth a listen, and the link will be in the show notes. Sleep and its impact on learning. So have you ever done an all-nighter cramming for a test the next day? How about doing an apprenticeship or a course in the margins while you're also trying to get in a full day's work and cook dinner and spend time with people, going to bed late, just trying to get that information into your head? I've done both of them. And we may not realise it, but insufficient sleep can directly impact how well we retain the key ideas or the key skills that we're going to learn from any training or learning that we're doing. If you've read Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep, great book by the way, I recommend it, you'll already know this. This article that we've shared in our newsletter shares the positive impact of getting a good night's sleep, particularly while you're learning something new or taking on new skills. Now obviously, getting good sleep is great advice all the time. But if you think you can pull off that all-nighter test combo and get the best result possible, it might be worth rethinking that strategy. So that's sleep and skills, the link's in the show notes. Breathing. Are you breathing right now? I hope so. But what's interesting though is the fact that because I've talked about breathing, you might now be thinking about your breathing. And if you're thinking about your breathing, that could mean that you're directly affecting your physiology. But did you know that if you learn the skills to develop thinking about breathing differently, it could have a massive impact on your life? So one element of our Free Fast 3 is usually a sort of life hack or something to maybe help solve a particular problem. But how we breathe can solve some much more fundamental problems than just the one or two things we've got going on that day. We recently spent some time with Dan and Karen Hughes at a Vitae V Wim Hof breathwork class. Oh my goodness. We discovered how, just by breathing differently, we can reduce anxiety, prepare for a presentation or a workshop, we can improve our sleep, we can help our immune system, and we can feel more alive and full of energy. And if you know me, being even more full of energy is probably quite significant. If you can get to one of the Vitae V classes, I promise you it is really well worth doing. Now, if you can't get to one of their classes, because you might be in a different part of the country or the world, there is lots of research out there on breathwork. But I must stress, this is powerful stuff and it can damage your health if it's not done right. So please find a trained coach or someone who knows what they're doing who'll help you. It's seriously impactful. And what I don't want you doing is finding some stuff out on a video, experimenting and causing yourself problems. Not because you're not a grown-up adult responsible for your own health and safety, but I've learned through this process that it can have serious impact. So I'll put a link in the show notes to VTIV's website. Have a look. And also hoping that we can get Dan and Karen on the podcast at some point in the future too. So that's it for this edition. There's going to be one more before we shut down for the festive period. So make sure that you're subscribed to the newsletter and the podcast so you don't miss out. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, search for Sharp Podcast, one word, two Ps, on your app of choice. Or if you don't have a regular podcast app, we'll put some links in the show notes for you to find us. That's it. As we always say, don't waste time trying to be better than anyone else. To spend a bit of time working on becoming a better person than the one you were yesterday. Have a great fortnight.